Hi there. If you're new here, I'm Miss. This is my channel where I share things that I have found to be life-changing. Book reviews, YouTube channels, YouTube videos, mentors, just things that I feel can maybe help others. And I have been so excited to do this one today. I am excited because I'm going to be doing a book review. And the book that I'm reviewing is Becoming Bulletproof by Evy Poumpouras. And the last name is Greek, so I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. This is a book that I wish I'd had as a teenager. Or in my 20s or in my 30s or even in my 40s. I wish I had had this book because it's so stinking awesome. If you're not a reader, you can find all kinds of interviews on YouTube with Evy and people that interview her. She was a special agent with our United States Secret Service, was on the details where she protected 3 or 4 different presidents and some of their family members. She uses her life experiences to, she uses a few of them to explain the message that she's trying to get across in this book. And I'm just going to read you a few things from the front and the back of the book. I just want to give you some ideas. I'm going to read some quotes from her. Evy's insight into safety and self-defense is second to none. In addition to her incredible knowledge, training, and experience, she is battle-tested and proven, having stood tall for our country when so many lives were on the line, including her own. For anyone concerned over personal safety in these challenging times, this book is a must-read. Here's another one. This one's by John Buck Smith, who was Chief Inspector with the U.S. Marshal Service, retired now. Evy takes readers on a powerful journey from being vulnerable and afraid to being prepared. Not only would I trust her with my life, I would go through any door with her. In a world that seems to be getting more violent, less safe, and crazier year after year, Evy is the much-needed voice of calm, humor, and sanity. Evy was one of the agents that was in the World Trade Center Tower 7 on 9/11 when the planes hit. And she starts the book with her experiences that day and in the following weeks. And if you watch her in any of her videos, she is almost embarrassed to be called a hero. She was given the Medal of Valor Award for her work that day. She talks of having survivor's guilt in one of the interviews I watched. She made arrangements to not even be there the day they were giving the awards out due to her survivor's guilt. And she does not see herself as a hero. I'm going to read to you real quick the front of the book. As a former United States Secret Service agent, Evy Poumpouras has protected numerous presidents and their families and is the recipient of the Medal of Valor Award for her heroism on 9/11. But as she explains in this eye-opening book, we all have the potential for greatness no matter our starting point. Offering rare insight into one of the oldest and most elite security forces in the world, Becoming Bulletproof shares fascinating stories from Poumpouras' time in the Secret Service, distilling her experiences into real-world lessons to help you endure whatever life throws your way. Through its page-turning narrative and revelatory takeaways, this book will show you how to prepare for the unexpected, heighten your natural instincts to stay safe and overcome adversity, tap into your inner strength in the face of danger, influence others to realize your goals, read body language, and become a human lie detector. Filled with essential advice from where to sit in movie theaters to the easiest way to tell if someone is trustworthy, and sharing a privileged glimpse into life at the White House, Becoming Bulletproof teaches us how to live safely and courageously in an unpredictable world. But I just want to say, page turning, I had a lot of trouble putting this book down. It was interesting from the very first page. She writes with humor. She writes with a very down-to-earth style. It's a very easy read. You might think you know everything that she's going to be talking about, but she just has a different insight to it, and it's really inspiring. She is one of those women that she's beautiful on the outside, absolutely beautiful, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in the world, but you can sense that she has a huge heart. She went into the Secret Service because she had a drive to better herself and to help others. She started out in the New York City Police Academy, and was during that process that she had applied to the Secret Service and ended up getting in. And she went through a lot of hard physical work, mental work. The steps that she lays out in this book, they're not for someone who has to necessarily defend themselves physically. There is so much more to that. She almost called the book Living Fearlessly, but she said that just wasn't right because nobody lives fearlessly. She even herself doesn't live fearlessly. She talks about how we have to work through fear. She uses her experiences to help us build our mental armor, is what she calls it. The reason she called the book Becoming Bulletproof was she used the example of the Kevlar vest, because she's worn that most of her life in the jobs that she had. And she said a lot of people think it's a solid piece of steel, but it's not. It's fabric, and it's layers of fabric. So she's using her book, and she's taking step by step, and she says every chapter is building another layer to help protect your mental armor, because that Kevlar vest, it still leaves you vulnerable and exposed. You know, their head is not covered, their arms, their legs. No matter what you do in life, you're always going to be vulnerable. But if you build your mental resilience, your mental toughness, you know what to do, that helps. That's going to help you be able to handle the tough challenges that come along in your life, so that you don't fear being vulnerable as much. She's showing you how to build your mental armor, how to walk away from a bad situation, how to know if you're focusing on the right problem, understand the differences between a solution mindset and a problem mindset, how to find meaning and develop powerful versus powerless mindset. She talks about personal safety, teaching your children safety, and how to teach them to protect themselves, what they can do, because they're not completely helpless. Basically, she'll teach you how to teach them to fight back in an abduction attempt. You know, how those numbers have been rising. She has a chapter, several chapters actually, on personal safety. 90% of personal safety is prevention. She does go into depth in several areas there, what we can teach our children, because from the years 2000 to 2016, she said that in the research, 70% of children that were being abducted escaped by screaming, kicking, fighting back. Predators are looking for a quiet, willing victim. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. And I thought, that might seem common sense to some people, but for some people that never thought of it, you know, we teach our kids to run, but teach them to be loud, teach them to bite, teach them to kick. About situational awareness. And we've all seen Facebook, social media, people talking about, you know, tell the women in your life to be safe, to watch out for what's going on. I'm constantly preaching it to my daughter. I recently saw a video. I wish I could remember where I saw it. It was a black and white, like from the store, a store camera looking out over a parking lot. And there were two men that were walking around in the parking lot, and they really didn't seem to have anywhere they were going. They were just kind of meandering slowly. And I think that's probably the number one thing you need to watch out for in parking lots. Most generally, people are walking from their vehicle to a store with a purpose, or they're walking from the store to their car with a purpose. So for someone to just walk around with their hat pulled down low and just walking very slowly, we need to pay attention to that. But in the video I was watching, a woman came out of a store and was pushing a cart to her car. I can't remember if she was on her phone, but she was looking down, she was distracted, and she was putting things she was in a four-door car, so she was putting things behind the driver's seat. So she had the back door open, putting things behind the driver's seat, and she wasn't paying attention. And at the same moment that she reached and opened her driver's door, one of the men was on the other side of her car and opened the back door on the passenger side, and he slipped in at the same time she did. She still was not paying any attention. And I can remember sitting and watching this video, just thinking to myself, okay, someone's going to come along and stop her. That other guy that's walking around is going to stop this. A few seconds go by, and you see the other gentleman walking slowly towards the car. You can't see anything that's happening in the car. The windows are blacked out. And then the other gentleman opened the driver's door and got in. She was no longer in the driver's seat. And it just made me sick to my stomach when I was watching that, because I realized that is a real thing. That woman was abducted, and having it on camera did nobody any good, because they took her car. They had their hats pulled down. There was no way to see who these people were. She talks about situational awareness, and I think that's something we just need to remind our sisters, our daughters, our mothers, just need to remind ourselves about all the time. And it's not just women, it is men too, and it is children. We've really got to watch out for our children, because the number of child abductions and the number of human trafficking, I don't even want to go there. That is a whole other subject, but it is getting really, really scary. So everybody should read this book. I'm just mentioning again, everybody should read this book. It's worth it. It's an easy read. According to her, situational awareness is more important to your personal safety than learning how to fight. When she's talking about her experiences of 9/11, she talks about seeing people choosing to jump instead of die in the fire. What impressed her at that time was how you have a choice in everything. You have a choice until the day you die. And these people were making the choice to die on their own terms, the ones that were jumping from the buildings. She talks a lot about what she and her colleagues went through in that first 24 hours there, and what all the first responders went through. It's just really good to hear it from someone who was there, someone who survived the situation. You will just grow to respect her the more you listen to her in interviews or after you read this book. I just can't say enough good about it. She goes on to talk about regret and how there are studies. There have been studies that have been done that at the end of a lot of people's lives, the things that we didn't do but we wish we had done tend to haunt us long term. More so than things that we tried to do and maybe failed at. It's the things we didn't do that have really haunted us. She believes our ability to conquer our fear comes down to our mental attitude. She believes it's our number one survival skill. She says that our best way to manage fear is preparation. So the action steps that she gives in this book, they're all very, very simple. You've probably heard a lot of them in the past, but she writes it in a way that it seems new to you. And she provides further instruction than what I've heard in the past. When you look at these action steps, the book is worth it just for the action steps alone. The book teaches you to become your own hero, no matter what the situation is, how to control it, how to reduce it, how to harness it. It's about, helping you make empowered choices rather than letting fear run the show. When she's explaining about how she came up with the name Becoming Bulletproof, and she's using the Kevlar vest as her inspiration for it, she looks at these chapters in the book as each one is a layer building upon the next layer, and that is what's building our mental armor. She calls that our shield against the struggles that we have in life. Our mental armor shield will help us handle situations that come up, like dealing with a toxic person, or someone says things that kind of throw you off your game. The shield is being our internal firewall to protect us emotionally. She says it will help you become bolder, braver, and more daring. It's always there when you need it. She says becoming bulletproof is work, but it's the most meaningful work that you'll ever do. Just like anything else that involves practice, she says it takes practice to do this as well. And when you strengthen one area of your life, that spills over and helps strengthen other areas. It's about fear being like a fire. If you catch it when it's small and extinguish it, it doesn't have a chance to become an inferno. She gives 7 strategies, 7 questions for building mental toughness. And it's taking inventory, self-assessing yourself, and looking at who you surround yourself. And the number 7 of the 7 questions I wrote down because I found it to be so good. When I leave an interaction with someone, do I feel worse or better about myself? She talks a lot about how important it is to really vet and be very picky about who our core people are, the people that we trust. Because not only was she a Secret Service agent, while in that position, she was urged by a superior to go take the training to become a polygraph interviewer. She explains that the polygraph itself, the machine, the only thing the polygraph machine is doing is measuring the physiological changes in our bodies, like when your heartbeat races, your blood pressure goes up, sweaty palms, the physiological changes your body goes through when we're nervous, when we're afraid of being found out if we're lying. The actual polygraph is actually the interviewer, the person doing the interview. She said many times she didn't even have to give the test because she could tell by reading their body language, by what they said, by what they didn't say. So part of a large section of this book is learning how to read people, what they say, what they don't say. Being an interviewer yourself, if you're going after information, how to go after the information. She gives one example where it was an old boyfriend. She suspected he was cheating, and so she gives the example of having a conversation with him, and she said, "I knew he was. I was just almost positive," but she just was calm, cool, collected, and she asked questions and got him to open up and got him to admit it. So she says, when you're wanting something from someone, when you're wanting information, you can't go on the attack. Just like on cop shows, they show the interviewer as the good cop, bad cop. And she said that does not work in real life. Those people shut down. People will shut down when you are coming at them, being accusatory. You're showing very little respect for them. She takes that knowledge and she puts it in this book to help you in your own life. Things to watch for, how to learn. Some of what she teaches is having the courage to walk away. And she talks about this, and a couple of things that stood out to me about it was that walking away is not a weakness. It's about implanting strength and strategy to deal with conflict. Number 2 was no shame in leaving. There's no shame in leaving. It's going to save you. It's going to save you the shame you'll end up by staying longer. I dealt with that myself. Another thing she talks about is mental resilience. She says it's a learned skill that is built over time. It is built over time by the conflicts that we go through. And I know I've said this in previous videos. We want to keep our children from having to go through hard things, and we try to protect them. We want them to learn from our mistakes. But it's going through things themselves that help build that mental resilience, mental toughness. Mental resilience helps you see a problem, and it helps you swiftly and effectively work towards a solution. There are 3 purposes for mental resilience. Number 1 is to keep you emotionally composed in a moment of crisis. Number 2 is to help you effectively problem solve using logic and reason. We've all struggled with when we're in the middle of an emotional drama, logic and reason just goes out the window. Number 3 is to quickly recover from any mental hardship. Research shows that when we help others, oxytocin is released in our brains, which is one of the feel-good chemicals, and it can help lift depression. It can help with anxiety. So when you look at what she went through on 9/11, after the towers collapsed, and she and the other agents and the other first responders were helping people. They didn't know anything else to do but to help people. She says research shows that those kinds of things help you get through tough times. When she's discussing being an interview, polygraph tests, she says that we all want to know if the people that we're in contact with, the people that we're close to, if we can trust them. Two questions that you can ask yourself when you're interacting with someone, and if you're worried about being betrayed. Number 1 is, does this person have my best interest at heart? Number 2 is, am I safe with them? According to her, the answers are in front of you if you know where to look for them and to listen for the answers. She said one of the biggest mistakes we make is we talk more than we listen, which we've been told that for a long time, and it comes out to be very true. We've got to learn that when we ask a question, to sit and listen. Silence, according to Evy, is extremely powerful, and we all need to learn how to use it. In that section of the book, she's showing how to spot certain behaviors and ask the right questions, how to make better choices of whom to trust and who not to trust, how to read body language and verbal cues. Here's a couple other really good quotes from the book I just want to mention here really quickly. Fear keeps us alive, but it also keeps us from living. I think that's something that's pretty appropriate for this past year. Difficulties are things that show a person what and who they are. You don't develop courage by being happy in your relationships every day. You develop it by surviving difficult times and challenging adversity. I just want to mention one last time here. So much of this book, she talks about fear. So I'm just going to read a couple of things about fear. Throughout this book, she shares her own experiences with fear. She talks about fear of death, fear of danger, fear of public perception, fear of failure, and fear of following your dreams. One thing she cannot teach you is how to be fearless. Being fearless is bullshit, according to her. It's not possible to live without fear, and it shouldn't be necessary in order for you to live a healthy, successful life. Fear is natural, useful, and keeps us alive. The reason you don't drive fast is that you fear getting into an accident or getting a speeding ticket. True. The reason you wait for traffic to pass before crossing the street is you fear getting hit by a car. The reason you study for an exam is that you fear failing it. All are good reasons to be afraid. She's worked with some of the bravest people in the world, and she means bravest. She says, people in the world, none of them are void of fear, and neither is she. When you keep that in mind, it's not that you want to be fearless. You want to develop the ability to push through your fears. The ones that are keeping you from doing the things you want to do, the ones that keep you from living, the ones that keep you from chasing your dreams, missing your life. I created this channel because I want people to quit missing their lives. So I'm just going to tell you, please go pick up this book. Go pick up this book. This is for men and women. This is not just for women. This is for men as well. It's just awesome. Go watch her interviews. She is all over YouTube. She's an awesome person to sit and listen to. I think she's one of those women we need to be teaching. If we're going to teach our girls to have hero worship for a female figure, it should be someone like this who is an actual hero. And that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think of this. If you've read it, if you're going to read it, if you've watched some of her videos, I just am really anxious to hear what you think of it. I was so excited to do this one. I know I'm a little all over the place, but yeah, I really liked it. And I hope you will too. So thank you and have a good day.